the lava flow issue is not just a Puna issue, it's a county issue.
In the beginning, there was no projection. USGS didn't do any projection. Then later on, they actually drew it out and projected it. And then it just stopped. Then we don't even know where it's going. It's such a stressful situation that we don't know. And at the same time, it stopped. However, the summit's still active. So we know it has to go someplace.
We can learn historically from what has happened around the island, from our, the people in Puna who have gone through similar situations like this, and how they came together as a community to survive.
Kalapana was, it's never stopped. Yep. So again, I thank you, and I just pray that everybody we can do the very best. I don't even know, it's lava. It's how do you handle the lava flow?
There's a lot of assistance that can come from the federal government and even from the state and stuff. And maybe our small contingency relief that we have, we're all, I'm sure, more than willing to put towards whatever efforts you could help us to identify, because I, for one, would like to contribute whatever I could. But sometimes, just by the definition of emergency or disaster or things like that that are handed down to us from the state or the federal government, may not actually be applicable to, like, say, a slow-moving disaster, as opposed to one that's, happens without us being able to prepare more than a day or so, like, say, a tidal wave or something that we can predict more. Say, what I've heard about insurance companies saying, if you move from your home, before a certain, time of it being destroyed, then your insurance is not valid anymore. Or I don't know. I'm sure there's many situations like this, but we're looking at something that you can't sometimes wait till a 24-hour or a 48-hour evacuation or something. So I'm just wondering if there's ways to amend or correct some of the things that might inhibit us from doing things just because we're looking at something that doesn't act that way.
You're correct in that the type of disaster that we're facing, or the hazard that we're facing, doesn't fit the mold of your typical weather event, tsunami event, because it's something you're watching unfold every day, and it's just very unique. And as an example where we see the challenges with not fitting into the normal mold of things is, with Highway 130, that's a state highway that would be, if and when it's affected by the lava flow, subject to federal reimbursement to recover or repair that road. So technically we could get some federal assistance to undo the impact that the eruption has had on the road. But to take a proactive measure to, let's say, breach the highway that would allow it to be recovered faster would not be recoverable under the definition of an emergency or a disaster. So it's, again, it doesn't fit the mold, because here we're trying to be proactive and mitigate the impact ahead of time, but yet the impact hasn't occurred, so it doesn't fit the definition of an emergency or a disaster.
I would like to see the military more involved. I know right now the disaster hasn't occurred and the request hasn't been, I know you're just waiting to pull the trigger, but right now I feel like there's homes, they're already evacuating. These homes are empty, and we need more presence of police, military, some way to make sure everybody's safe. I know it might be early, but I feel like the danger's there. And in my gut opinion, and I just feel like the police, we need to get more presence, and also we need to get military help.
I do have, afterwards, if anyone wants to look at one of these maps and really see where these pictures are and where this is headed, and where these little lines are sort of the gully areas where it's anticipated.
One of the things I wanted to ask the council to consider is to please give me some specific proposals to take to the legislature in response to this lava crisis of what we're asking them for. You know, obviously this will be a time when there'll be some sympathy for our needs here on the Big Island and in Puna. Well, not obviously, hopefully.
Yeah.
But let's think about what we need from the state. I mean, money, yeah, sure, money, but money for what? What do we specifically want? What are we going to ask the Department of Health for, Department of Transportation for, et cetera, et cetera? It would be helpful to me to have a real clear ask that you folks on the County Council can help me formulate in the next month or so. If I may continue a couple of things, one of the needs that I see as a possible urgent need that I don't hear being talked about is Lower Puna might need an air ambulance, a helicopter. You know, it's great that we're going to have a clinic on the other side. I commend PCMC for what they're doing, and that's wonderful, but there may be a need for an air ambulance as a permanent resident feature of Lower Puna. And along the same lines, I hope we can consider some sort of emergency harbor above and beyond what we can do out of Pohoiki.
It is true that most of Puna is working over on the Kona side of the island, and it would be a severe impact if they couldn't get to work, and they may choose, instead of coming up Chain of Craters Road on a daily basis, to catch a bus up in Volcano, that they may choose temporary relocation. So is that a reasonable request for the council, that if we could identify places like Forest City that has power and water, is that something reasonable, or is that kind of a waste of everybody's time?
No, because if we look at people being displaced, you know, the first action we're going to take is provide the emergency shelters. But it has to transition into something that's more long-term and permanent. So, you know, all the ideas are worth looking into, so we have options to consider.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So, council members, we do have something to do. And may I suggest you speak to your local engineers. They might be able to guide you in this if you're not aware of something.